Hello, everyone. I am excited to have another episode of Hush No More with Dr. Vanessa, and especially tonight. Why tonight is because we are going to talk about some creeps. But before I get started, I want to thank CTR Media Network for being our sponsor. You could check them out. They have a lot of amazing shows on their platform, TV, podcasts. So go to CTR Media Network and check them out because they're our sponsor, and I'm so grateful for them and Dr. Tina Ramsey. So follow their page and find out more about the services that they offer. So let's get into it. I don't even want to waste time. The creeps. I'll call them creeps. I really want to call them something else, right? The individuals who molest our children, I'll call it rape. They rape our kids. That's period. The ones who are predatory, the ones who are after them, the ones who love on them, right? And give them false love, give them gifts, right? That groom them. And I am just really heartbroken by it, but I know that there's something that we can do. That makes sense. It's something that we can do. And what we can do is hold parents accountable. Parents, you have to be accountable. I don't understand how individuals can let anyone watch their children. Anyone should not have access to your children. You shouldn't leave a man or another woman because I'm gonna tell you, it's not just the men that are abusing our children, it's also the women, right? So the creeps and the creepettes, if that's a such thing, right? You shouldn't leave your kids with anybody. You should not let them have access unless there's somebody else around. Okay, and that's what I want to talk about today. What really stimulated this conversation for me was that we had a 13-year-old that was pregnant by an adult, right? So to me, that is absolutely wrong. We should not have children 13 years old. I remember giving birth at 18 and it was horrific. I can't even imagine at 13. But how did he get access to her? How did he impregnate her, right? How did he have that much time alone with her to be able to get her pregnant? And it's not one of these things where it's unfounded. They did DNA test and that child was his, right? So how do we prevent that? First of all, parents, you got to start having conversations with your kids. This new generation is not like my generation or my mom generation before us. They are very intellectual. They have access to the World Wide Web. They have conversations, right? That are very mature. This today, I was talking to my nephew, and he's 6, and he was talking about when he get big enough to go on a date. And I said, "What do you know about a date?" Right? So we had a conversation. Our children are very informed now, right? And so I want you to remember that it's not this baby thing. You have to have the conversations with them, and you have to be open and honest with them. When do these conversations start with your children to protect them from what I call creeps on on live, right? It starts when they're in Pampers. When you're changing their pampers, it is this is your safe space. This is a space that only mommy and daddy can touch, right? You have them conversation with them. The fathers having those conversations with their children when you're changing their diaper. It starts that early that they have a choice over their body. They can protect their body. This is a safe space from their body, right? One of my clients always talk about the bathing suit zone. Anywhere that your bathing suit touches is your private space. And I love him for that. And I'm hoping that he gets that nonprofit off the ground because the bathing suit zone is a really good way to explain it to your kids what can be touched and what cannot be touched. It is not too early to start having these conversations. Why do I say that? When you have 18-month-olds that have syphilis, that is crazy. When they have STDs in their babies, that is crazy. It is some crazy people out here, right? And so you have to really be vigilant about what do you do with your children, okay? If we look at our kids, right? 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are sexually assaulted. And that's what I call it. It's not no molestation. That sounds a little simple, right? They are being abused. 1 in 4. So if you go into a room and you count 4 girls, one of those girls have been touched by an adult. And 90% of those are by someone that they know. It's not the stranger danger. Y'all want to talk to your kids about stranger danger. That's a good conversation, but it's also a conversation that should be had about the individuals in their family, the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, right? The brother that's at the babysitter's house, right? All of these you have to have conversations about. And last week we talked about the church. You have to look at the pastors, the priests, the priests, the bishops. Look at those individuals too. The coaches, the teachers, right? Those individuals have access to your kids and they get into professions, right? That they can have access to your children. So you got to think about that. Why are you around these little kids? What makes you do that? And so it starts with the conversation. And the statistics don't lie. I meet so many adults that never told their parents that they were assaulted, that they were touched, that they were molested. And you best to believe that incest is real. Sibling abuse is real. There are a lot of adults that's coming out now that's talking about the brothers or the cousins, the sisters that molested them. And a lot of times it's same on same sex. So leaving the door closed is a no. Right? No doors should be closed in your house. When all the family come together, and remember how we used to all the cousins and the kids be in a room together and they had the door closed? It is a no. There are no closed doors that should be in your house because we don't know who's doing this to our children. Okay. So and I know y'all can hear like this passion in my voice, and it's there because I am really vigilant about our children and making sure that they understand that this is happening to them, right? What does it look like? What does abuse look like for your children? Okay. When their attitudes change, when they start getting angry or they're emotional, right? Or they become very secretive or they don't want to talk. If your child was potty trained at a very early age and now all of a sudden that child is wetting the bed, right? Or they're very skittish or they don't want to go around certain family members or friends, right? Why? If their behavior was normal, now all of a sudden they're really acting up in school, they are jumping off the chairs and they're rude to the teachers and they're mean and they're angry. Why? If they start doing drugs early, why are they doing drugs early? Middle school and elementary kids are doing drugs. They are bringing them from home. Okay. They're going into your kitchen, they're going into your bathroom, and they're bringing them from home to the other kids. Or they're getting your vapes, right? Some of you are just leaving your vapes around, and your kids are getting access to your vapes. They're getting access to your alcohol. The schools here no longer allow water bottles. Why? Because these kids was bringing vodka to school in water bottles. They are starting very early. And so you have to look at that. If your child has an addiction, why does your child have an addiction so early? Okay, those are some of the signs that as parents, you really have to look out for. Okay, I really want you to look out for them. The babysitter, those babysitters are not always the right person that should be at your house or the daycare centers, right? They shouldn't have access all the time without a pop up. If someone is watching your child, you should pop up at different times. Don't be so predictable. You pop up at different times so that you can make sure that they're just not expecting you so that you can see what's going on. Okay. Pop up on a babysitter. And then even those teen babysitters, some of them are absolutely horrible, right? The girls will have sex with the boys and introduce that to them very early. Okay. And even at the daycare centers. So I want y'all to be very vigilant to pop up on them to say, hey, I'm just coming early. I got off work early and come. If they don't allow you to do that, right? If they don't want you coming in, then that's a problem. And that's a big red flag. Is that should that be the place that you should be? Okay. If you find out that something has happened to your children, I will tell you this. It hurts me when I hear adults saying their mother or their father didn't believe them. That is crazy. I don't care who it is. My first look is let's have this conversation and we're calling the police. Not the person that did it. I'm calling the police because I want to catch you off guard because there needs to be an investigation. Now, have some kids been known to not tell the truth? Yes, they have been known to not tell the truth. But wouldn't you want to have an investigation, an expert to determine that and not have embarrassment or shame, right? You should never be embarrassed about what someone done to your kids. They should be embarrassed and ashamed of what they did to your children. Call the police so that there can be an investigation done to see. I don't care if it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, you make that complaint. Your father, your grandfather, you have to report it and believe your kids. I need proof, right? That you did not do this to my child. Period. Period. Because I'm riding for my kids. And a lot of parents are not. And that is very hurtful and will destroy the relationship that you have with your children. Okay. If you choose a man or a woman over your child after that child has been abused, it destroys the relationship in the future. Right. So don't feel like, well, you can't call the police. That is your first line of defense, is to call the police. And I've heard people say, well, I don't want to call the police because I don't want my children taken. Some of you think too much of your kids because the foster care system, right? It's full, right? Department of Social Services do not want your children. We really practice trying to keep your family together. Okay, we don't want to take kids. We don't want to because there's nowhere to put them, right? So it is to do an investigation to determine what happened to your child. Okay, if you see marks and bruises on your child and they are unexplainable, that is something that you got to talk about. Okay, the next thing is you, as a parent, should have access to your children's cell phone, to their iPad, to their MacBooks, to their computers, their tablet. I don't care. If it got a password, it probably shouldn't have one, but you should have access and they should not be allowed. You should do random checks on your kids' devices, right? And if they have any device, there should be some type of security on that device. They should not have access to the whole wide web. Well, the whole the world wide web, right? They should not have access to that. They should not have access to regular YouTube. They should have access to YouTube Kids. They should not have a Facebook account. They should have like Facebook Messenger if you want them to only be able to contact family members. They also should have access to Life 360 so that you could track your kids in those devices at all times. Do not allow your children to just be free thinking that they're going to be good on the computer. These companies intentionally allow porn on different devices to be able to get to your children. They will message your children as if they're kids, and they're not kids, they are adults, but they will try to access your children through these devices, and you are allowing them to have access because you're not blocking it. When my two youngest grandbabies came over, both of their tablets, I put security on their tablets. I blocked it and locked it down. They only have access to the apps that I felt like they should have access to. And I know their mom and dad was like, what? But that's what I did. Okay. And then I gave them the password so that they can change it. Your children should not have unlimited access to Netflix, to Tubi, right? They should have something that is age appropriate. My favorite thing is ABC Mouse. Shout out to ABC Mouse. That is the thing, the one app that I absolutely love for kids, and it goes up to age 7. But as your children get older, they will have more apps. My 13-year-old, we had a conversation. He just got a new MacBook. I am the administrator on his MacBook. He cannot change, he cannot download without me putting in a password. Do you think that this is overzealous? You may. I don't. And I don't even care about nobody else's opinion. I make sure that he does not have unlimited access. These video games, Xbox and PlayStation, those are not necessarily kids on those games. Those are grown adults that are playing those games. And you got to make sure that your children do not give them access, like things like what school they go to, right? They don't need to know what school they go to, right? They don't need to know their address. They don't need to know their phone numbers. Things like that, they should not be sharing with people that they do not know. Okay. So make sure that they're not like your friends, because some of the adults got a problem with friends. Just because we friends on social media doesn't mean that you're my friend. And children are looking at that the same way because we're looking like, that's my friend. I know that person. We're friends on the computer. We're playing games with each other, but that's not a friend. And they need to understand what friendship really is. Okay. You are responsible for your children. You cannot protect them from everything. You cannot, right? But you could put systems in place that you could protect your children from these creeps. Because it is a very sad day when we have children that are just lost mentally. These children are suicidal at a very early age now. They're depressed, like they're emotional unstable, right? Things like breath work. They're talking about, I need to breathe because I'm having a panic attack. My niece told me that. I said, you're having a panic attack? They have different things going on with their mental health. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that our children are protected, grandparents as well, parents as well, right? Aunties, uncles, it is your responsibility as well. We have to do this together and we have to do it as a community because these creeps are after your kids, all right? I'm telling you, check them cell phones. Check them cell phones because you will be surprised about what conversations. And actually, I don't understand why kids under 8 got a cell phone. Okay. There's different reasons. Households, your kids are by themselves. Right? I remember going to the office and we had to use the phone. But some of your kids got devices. And so if they have devices, you have to make sure that you are taking care of those devices and providing security. Okay. That is your responsibility. And I just want you to really believe your children when they come and tell you something. And my biggest thing to tell you all is that if your children have a conversation with you about, being touched, or if something happens, please do not tell them that you're going to kill the individual. That's the worst thing you can say, right? Why is that? Because children believe you, and they believe if something happens to you that you are going to kill the individual, that you're going to hurt the individual, so they won't tell you. They will not tell you. So you have to say things like, look, if something happens to you, I will listen to you, I will believe you, we will have a conversation about it, and then we're going to go and tell the police. Have that conversation with them. Don't do the threats, because your children will not tell you if you're threatening. I know it makes us feel like we're supporting them, but they're looking at that as, no, I can't tell my mom and dad. The other thing, if they talk to you, right, about anything that happened to you, right, they are the most important. It's not about you. It's not about your emotions. It's about how they feel in the moment, and make them feel validated, make them feel seen, make them feel important. It is about them in that moment. Okay. You also want to have conversations about, if somebody tell you that they're going to hurt me or harm me, don't believe it, because I'm a strong person. I could take care of myself. Please tell me anyway. Because a lot of times they will tell the kids, if you tell, I'm going to make sure that I kill your mom, I'm going to kill your dad, I'm going to do something to them. So have that conversation. Okay. You can do it. Some of you are doing too much. Because there is a fine line, because some of you are so strict that your kids are like really upset and almost want to run away because of the trauma that you had. So make sure that you're not inflicting fear and trauma into your kids because of what happened to you. You need to get counseling. You need to get some help so that you can find a balance. Because I can tell you, I did that. My children did not spend the night, not even at my grandma's house. They stayed at nobody else's house, right? I had the basketball goal, I had the trampoline, I had all the games at my house because I didn't want my kids to stay anywhere else. But I had to find that balance, that they did need to have a little bit of freedom, and they need to be able to have some trust, right? But I don't believe either that your kids should be staying over people's house. So you really have to find that balance, but don't allow your trauma to make you put a chokehold on your children that you can't really properly help them because you can't help yourself. And now what happened to you think going to happen to your children. And that's not necessarily true, but we want to put things in place to be able to protect them. Okay. I need you to love on your babies, make them feel safe, make them feel seen and heard. And if something happens to them, how can I help you? What do you need from me? That's part of the conversation, right? And we can do it because these creeps are out there. They are preying on our kids, and it is absolutely horrible. It's absolutely disgusting. And I just think that we could do this as a community to watch out. And God gave us all like this intuition in your gut. If something tell you something not right, it's not right. If somebody buying your kids stuff all the time and your kid's not that special, right? They buying your kids stuff, you gotta watch that, right? If they always want to be around your child, why? Why do you always want to be around my child? Right? You got to pay attention. If it's something don't sound right, don't feel right, pay attention. Right? If you met somebody 3 months ago and now you introducing them to your kids and your kids get to stay with them, that's a no. You don't know them people. You do not know them people. Stop allowing somebody that you're dating to meet your children and to spend time with them and spend intimate time with them, because it's not right. Okay. I remember I was talking to a gentleman and he said he didn't realize that the abuse that his mom was doing to him was wrong until he was in high school. His mom required him and his friends to bathe her, right? To bathe her. And so he was talking to his friends after school, and and I'm laughing because the way he said it in his face, he was just like, he was so surprised when he said, look, I can't play football because I have to go home and bathe my mom. And they was like, what do you mean, baby mom? And he was like, I have to bathe my mom, so I can't play football. And they started telling him, that's not normal. You ain't supposed to bathe your mom, right? And then they had a whole conversation. Some of these mamas not right. Do not let your kids go to every mama house. Okay, just because she's a single mom and she got kids, don't make her right. I'm gonna tell you, some of these women are absolutely horrible, and they laugh and say that they're Krugers. No, you're a child molester. You're a rapist, just like the men are. And I don't hold back from that. The women are doing the same thing as men are doing, and it is not right. It is not fair. Do not trust a woman, and do not trust a man around your kids. Okay? They need to be vetted. They need to be vetted. And when you come back, you pay attention to how your child is acting, how they're feeling, because it is real out here in these streets. Okay? If 90% of these children do not tell what happened to them, is it your child? Has your child made the decision not to tell? And we hope not, because we want you to help them. But I help people every single day that have trauma from childhood that is struggling. Okay? That is struggling. But good relationships and good conversation is priceless. And I honor you all as parents, as grandparents, as aunts and uncles. It takes all of us. It takes all of us. And giving your child permission. If they don't like somebody, they don't like that person. They're a good judge of character. If they don't want to sit on Auntie Gina lap and Uncle Bob lap, they don't have to. If they don't want to hug, they don't have to. They don't like that person. And that is okay, because we're not going to like everybody. Okay? It is okay. Let them have that, because when you stop them from having control of their body, what happens is they believe that they don't have control because you told them that they have to do this. They do not have to. That is their body, and they don't have to hug. They don't have to kiss. They don't have to do any of that. Okay? Any of that. Because some of these individuals, even in our family, are disgusting. Are absolutely disgusting. Last week I told y'all about my uncle, and he was the pastor, and he was disgusting. Okay? He was disgusting. So we never know who are around our children, but I want you to love on these babies. If they're acting up, figure out why. Why is your child acting up now when they wasn't giving you any problems before? What happened in their changed behavior? Okay? What happened in their behavior? And why are they acting this way? And I don't want to scare y'all, because there's some amazing people out here, but I do want you to know that there's a lot of creeps, okay? And I want you to make sure that you be gentle with these babies and you pay attention to them, be interested, okay? And encourage them, elevate them, empower them, okay? So that they could be productive citizens without trauma and can find healthy relationships. Peace and blessings to you all. Thank you for tuning in and listening to my rant about these creeps, because I don't want any more girls that are pregnant from grown men. That is crazy, y'all. That is crazy. And it's our responsibility to do it. Okay? It is our responsibility. You could follow us at hushnomore.org. Please, if you this is your first time on the Hush No More page, follow our page for information. Just follow us to just have amazing events. We do have our Puerto Rico trip coming up in June. I would love for y'all to come to that. We have our military sexual trauma retreat coming up in April. We do some amazing work, because you can heal. And some of you that are just watching this have experienced the childhood sexual abuse that I'm talking about. And so you know it's real, but you haven't really tackled it and started this healing journey, right? But you can. You can heal from that and really address it. Okay. So I honor all of you. My grandmothers, I'm a GG. So if you a nana, a G mom, me mom, grandma, granny, watch your grandbabies, okay? Watch them sugar babies. It's our responsibility. Grandfathers, it's your responsibility to do this together. I'm a super auntie. I be waiting for somebody to do something slick, okay? I make sure I hold that safe space for them. And you make sure you got somebody to hold a safe space for your kids. Peace and blessings to you all. And thank you for tuning in. And I hope to see you next Tuesday, same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are on my podcast, thank you for choosing Hush No More with Dr. Vanessa to listen to. Peace, y'all.